Welcome to another FPL video. We are looking ahead to Game Week 14. I'll be providing a recap on how I did in the previous Game Week and then looking ahead with the transfer I have already made. And I wouldn't recommend this to you because we have a lot of European games midweek. So try to hold out with your transfers and let's try to get this video to the 300 likes. And we're also pushing on towards 17,000 subscribers. Thank you very much to everyone who helped us reach our latest milestone, 16,000. It's very much appreciated. And without further ado, let's get straight into this video. One of the few things that went right for me was the goalkeeper. I ended up going for Ward instead of Nick Pope, and I gained 6 points from that decision. And Leicester had 4 shots and scored with every single one of them. And Wolves had over 20, I think around 21 in the end. And Leicester managed to keep the clean sheet. Ward also got a bonus point as well as a save point. So really happy stuff with him. And it's actually absolutely insane because Leicester had one of the worst defensive records, if not the worst, of all time in the Premier League up until, let's say, Game Week 6 or 7. But over the last 5 game weeks, Leicester have kept 4 clean sheets. So Ward has been one of the best goalkeepers in the game, and he's only 4.1 million. So very happy with him. And I had a good feeling about him keeping a clean sheet against Wolves. He did. And now going into the game against Man City, that will be a completely different scenario. But I'm very happy with the points he gave me in Game Week 13. The same can't be said with my back line. Kieran Trippier and Cancelo, who are 2 of the best defenders in the entire game, well, they both blanked. And to be fair, I was kind of anticipating with Trippier, but he's someone I don't really want to bench, especially with the cover I have, such as Kilman. Anderson as well with a 1-pointer. So overall, apart from Ward, the rest of the backline was absolutely shocking, and even Cancelo conceded to a really well-taken goal by Trossard from outside the box. So I didn't expect much from Anderson or Trippier, and actually I had a lot of a good feeling and positivity about Cancelo. It didn't materialise, but he's still the best defender in the game, and Trippier is probably the second best, really. And it's really finding that third defender that's the big issue for me. And I've got Doherty, who's a big rotation risk. Of course, Emerson Royal played against Newcastle, which I actually expected, and that's why I benched Doherty in the end. But then you got Anderson, who, to be fair, he's not a bad option. Crystal Palace have good fixtures, but they haven't been that good defensively either in terms of the underlying numbers or the clean sheets they actually get. And Kilman is playing for a Wolves side that are in a relegation fight at the moment. So my defensive line needs a lot of work, but Cancelo and Trippier are going nowhere. If you think my defense was bad, well, look at the midfield and the quality on show. Yet not many points at all. Salah and Martinelli with 2 pointers, and my 2 new signings, Foden and Martinelli, 1 point apiece, and that involved getting rid of Zaha, who also got a 1-pointer to be fair, but also Trossard. And in the end, taking that -4 hit for Saka and Foden has cost me 10 points, and that just shows you the variance that can happen in FPL, especially this season, which is unlike any other, and it seems like we're saying this every single year. But I still have a lot of confidence in Foden and Saka. They were the highest scoring FPL midfielders before Game Week 13, and I expect them to be right up there by the end of the season. And also the most important thing now is getting in players up until Game Week 16 before we depart for the World Cup. So it's really important getting these players in and hopefully being on the right side of luck and variance, you could say, but also making some good decisions, and being patient and calm is very important, and it can help us get the points that we want. Salah is just not really worth it. I keep on saying this. For me, Kane or Kevin De Bruyne are the kind of second best premium options at your disposal behind the obvious Erling Haaland. Salah is still a good choice, by the way, and playing down the middle against Forest, I thought we could get a return, but in the end, it didn't materialise, and Liverpool are still very shaky, and that's 0 away wins this season in the Premier League, all of them coming at Anfield. And Martinelli, still really happy with him, and he was actually the better of the two, him and Saka. But Martinelli still is a bit concerning. He was subbed off a little bit earlier, but Arsenal don't really have any cover on the left-hand side. So sometimes Martinelli won't get those 90 minutes that you want. And to be honest, he is still one of Arsenal's best assets overall. And for me, in terms of value, he is the absolute best. My forward line was definitely the best part of my team, with Mitrovic getting a goal and also Erling Haaland getting a brace as my captain. Ivan Toney there with a 2-pointer, but at least he hasn't been suspended and he didn't get that yellow card that I keep on fearing with players like him. But really, apart from Ward, Haaland captain, and Mitrovic, everyone else in my team blanked, with the exception on my bench of Andreas Pereira with a 10-pointer, but everyone else in my squad, very disappointing stuff. A lot of 1- and 2-pointers this week, and I still think it's a very solid team overall, but still there's a few things that could be improved, and I'm mainly looking at the defense, and that's what I'm looking to target with my early transfer already. So now let's get straight into the Game Week 14 team selection and talk about the transfer that I've made. But before I do and get too carried away, let me show you my overall rank, which is now 788,000 in the world. So I went down from around 200,000 places from 593,000. So after some real good progress since Game Week 9, I've slightly gone down to a halt. but it's still a solid team, and I expect plenty of points for the next 3 game weeks before we depart for the World Cup in Qatar. Let me know how you did in Game Week 13 and what your plans are heading into Game Week 14. Maybe you want to roll the transfer and have 2 free transfers available in Game Week 15, maybe get Harry Kane or something else. Be sure to let me know. But now, for real, let's get straight into the Game Week 14 team selection. Despite his heroics in Game Week 13, I'm going to go for Nick Pope because Ward faces Man City, and despite Leicester's improvements, I don't think they will stand a chance of keeping a clean sheet in that game. But I am going to go for Nick Pope, who's at home to Aston Villa, who have just now appointed Unai Emery as the new manager, and they also thrashed Brentford 4-0 and were 3-0 up within the first 15 minutes. So I don't think this is an easy game actually for Newcastle, and if they still had Steven Gerrard, I'd be much more optimistic, but I still think Nick Pope is a good option this week. The same can be said for Kieran Trippier, who I'm pretty much going to start every single week, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions throughout the whole season, but Cancelo is one that's always going to be in my team no matter what, and he faces Leicester away, and I'm not that optimistic about a clean sheet for City, for example, but I still think you could haul, and my new signing is Ben White in for Max Kilman, and White is at home to Nottingham Forest, who just beat Liverpool 1-0, and Arsenal are off the back of a disappointing draw against Southampton, and they've been a bit shaky in the last few games, including, the fortuitous win against Leeds in a 1-0 victory, and all of Arsenal's clean sheets this season in the Premier League have come away from home, and they haven't kept a clean sheet at the Emirates for quite some time. I think it's in the last 13 or 14 games where they haven't kept a clean sheet, so it's been a while, and they have kept a few in the Europa League, for example. I would expect them to start to translate that into the Premier League at home, and I think there's a really good opportunity for Arsenal to bounce back and also keep a clean sheet. I'm a lot more optimistic going into this week in terms of the midfielders, and a lot of my players overall are at home, with the exception of the 3 City players. Phil Foden away to Leicester, I'm still quite confident about that. It's just really a matter of will he start or not. Bukayo Saka home to Forest, the same goes for Martinelli. I'm expecting some big things from them. And also Salah at home to Leeds, and he has a fantastic record against them. And Leeds, they're literally on the brink of sacking the manager Jesse Marsch. Things aren't looking too good. They've been very unlucky as well not to get results against Palace and Arsenal, but I think Liverpool will undo them with a couple of goals really at Anfield, and I think Salah will get back to his best in this game. I'm still concerned about him in the long term, but at home to Leeds, would I sell him? Definitely not. Not even for Harry Kane, even if it's for free or a -4 here, anything like that, I would maybe hold out yet another week if you are looking to get Harry Kane in for Mohamed Salah, and I'm very happy with this midfield. I know it was very disappointing last week, but the fixtures and the quality of players are certainly there. The forward line also looks pretty decent this week, with Mitrovic at home to Everton, Haaland away to Leicester, and Tony at home to Wolves. So like I said, only 3 players are away from home. The rest will be in a home fixture, and most of them are looking very good at that, especially in the case of triple Arsenal at home to Nottingham Forest. But football isn't played on paper, and there could be plenty of surprises. Everton just beat Crystal Palace 3-0, so I don't think it will be easy for Mitrovic and co, but I still would expect a return there, and it should be a very interesting game between those two. Ivan Toney home to Wolves, who have been struggling a lot, really. I would favour Brentford and Toney to get some returns in that game, but I'm just still a bit cautious about the yellow card. If he does get one more, then he will be suspended for the following game week. As for Haaland, there are no complaints, no issues whatsoever. And once again, it's going to be a question of, do we captain Haaland or do we dare to go different? Haaland only has 1 double-digit return away from home, and that was in Game Week 1 against West Ham. And he has been very consistent in any kind of ground. It doesn't really matter. But if he's only going to get 6 points, then you could dare to be different. And despite Leicester's improvements, I still think Haaland is capable of a brace or a hat-trick in that game. And with the quality of chances he's getting, with the form he's in, I just can't look past him, and Salah isn't showing enough on a consistent basis for me to captain Salah, despite the fact he has a great record against Leeds, and he could be playing down the middle once again, but I don't think that will be the case against Leeds, and I also have more concerns about him and his positioning, being just hogging the touchline basically, and being far too wide and away from the action. The Arsenal players aren't bad captaincy options either, but are they good enough to captain over Erling Haaland? I don't think so. In terms of the bench, it orders itself. Ward will be there at home to Man City. Then you've got Andreas Pereira, Doherty and Anderson. And Doherty actually could start against Bournemouth away. And as a result, maybe the transfer in for Ben White wasn't necessary. But I don't have enough confidence of his minutes to just put Doherty in. and just hope for the best. I also got Anderson at home to Southampton, but my defenders in general were pretty weak in terms of minutes and also in terms of actual clean sheets and output. So I'm very happy with the transfer of Ben White. And in the future, I am willing to take a -4 hit for Harry Kane potentially in for Mohamed Salah. I can show you very quickly now using FPL.team what my plans could be going into Game Week 15 and 16 before we depart for the World Cup. And then that's pretty much it. But it's important to be mindful of the transfer we're making, and we're going to be looking for these kind of short-term punts, really just 3 game weeks that we have left. So there's no point looking ahead to Game Week 17 and beyond. Just focus on the present and also the next 2 game weeks. Going into Game Week 15, this is how my team would look like, and there's still a few issues with the backline. So despite Trippier and Cancelo having good fixtures on paper, the same goes for Nick Pope. In terms of my third defender, I've got Anderson away to West Ham, I've got Ben White away to Chelsea, and Doherty at home to Liverpool. I don't really expect a clean sheet from any of those sides, so that's going to be a bit of a tricky one, but the rest of my squad will look fairly decent, although there are some poor fixtures as well. Game Week 15 is definitely the weakest in terms of how my team looks like on paper. You've got Mitrovic away to City, and he could be the one I upgrade to Harry Kane, and I could also downgrade Salah in order to facilitate that. So if we actually do something like this and do Mitrovic up to Harry Kane, then we look at how much money I have left, and it's not too much to be fair. I've got 7.9 million, unless, let's say for example, Ivan Toney gets another yellow card and he's suspended, then I would keep Mitrovic, perhaps even bench him potentially, although I don't think I'll do that, and then have a bit more money to spend really. But then what do we do with 7.9 million? The players that are most likely to get into this team, if I decide to go for Harry Kane up front, will be either Almiron or Leandro Trossard, who I just got rid of. So it's not really looking too great on that front, and I'm still open-minded to keeping Salah, who's then also got another good fixture in Game Week 16. Let me know your thoughts. If you have Salah, will you be considering getting rid of him for Harry Kane at any stage over the next 3 game weeks? In my case, Game Week 15 would be the best time to get rid of Salah potentially. If you were to get rid of him, I wouldn't look to do it in Game Week 14 and probably not in Game Week 16 as well. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's get this video to over 300 likes. Let's also push on towards 17,000 subscribers. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also become a patron or a channel member. The links are in the description below. The same goes for the FPL League and also the Discord server. All of that is there. I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 14 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.